Experience hospitality the Northwest way at the Everglades Hotel. Located on the banks of the River Foyle, the Everglades Hotel is just minutes from the centre of Derry, Londonderry, with free on-site guest car parking. Whether you're here for a family meal, a big celebration, or simply a peaceful retreat, will make your experience as memorable as the sights in the city. Visit Everglades Hotel Derry for accommodation bookings, the latest menus, live shows and events, and much, much more. See you there.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to the latest episode of Gaelic Lives, our Monday edition. Look back on the championship here and now. Now we're looking forward. We're in Cavan, we're in Kingscourt, where they've got 2 from 2, and they're heading into Ballina this weekend. But we're hitting rewind to where the Kingscourt story started. Thankfully, I'm joined this morning by Pat Faulkner, who knows all about it. He was inside the bubble when they were doing the business. Pat, you're very welcome. Look forward to a morning of chat.
Thank you, Michael.
I suppose I touched base with you because it's obviously 35 years since 1990 and you were in the middle of a 3 in a row. But when you do a wee bit of digging, you went from 55 without being in the final and then 7 titles in 12 years. And I think you were in another final in the middle of that as well. So it's and 2 Ulster finals. So it's a brilliant run of form, but I'm sure it just didn't happen. Or what was the origins of it? Because it's an amazing story.
Well, it probably all started back, I suppose, from juvenile football. There was a guy called Peter Connolly, and he trained us all up over the years, and he started us off first when we were under 12s. There's no such thing as under 6s and 8s and 10s them times. So you started at under 12 and you worked your way up. And we won different age groups. We won championships under 12, 14 on the way up. But then we done nothing until we got to under 21 then in 1979, we won the under 21 championship. But that started the ball rolling, really. A lot of us then played on the 80 and 81 team then the following years. So it really started from juvenile football with Peter Connolly and Robbie Connell and them lads. And we all stayed together. No one emigrated. There was good employment around Kingscourt even in them times. And no one emigrated, which was a big thing. There was a lot of people heading to the States them times. And no one left from town here. We all had jobs and work, so it kept us at home.
I suppose that's the big thing. You need your players. You know, they're the number one ingredient. You need to be in Cavan for this all to work.
Yes, yeah. It was like a lot of clubs were losing players. Say clubs in Cavan crush a lot. They went to America on a trip and half of them didn't come home. That type of thing was going on, you know. Drumlee too, teams we played in finals and that, but they all lost players because of immigration. We actually were quite lucky.
And here, you had only one senior title to your name before this, so you know there wasn't a huge tradition whenever you were making that breakthrough. Because sometimes tradition does help in the fact that you've got something to follow. You are sort of the people who maybe set that trend.
Yeah. Probably it's just when a crop of players come together and we're quite friendly with each other and all got socialised together and all that and stayed fairly close. It happens like that. But before that, like the only claim to fame they had was the junior championship in 1962. And before that, a senior 55 or whatever it was. But there was no tradition there with football. But then we had a good young committee at the time with the chairman called Sean Farley and secretary Phil Smith, and they set the ball rolling and developing the grounds, the club grounds and all that, and things started to expand from there. They've done a lot of fundraising and have a great football stadium now for viewing and for pitch-wise. So it all started there, and you had a good committee behind the team. Anything we ever wanted, they looked after us. And you had local doctor, Johnny McMahon. He was very good to all the players over the years. Any injuries, he'd tidy them all up and get you right for games. So the club was being run well, along with then the team coming along at this one same time.
Yeah, I remember being down at a minor Ulster Championship match there. We were playing Cavan, and it was in Kingscourt. I'd never been in Kingscourt before. But I drove into the ground, and here you have a stand, and on the other side you have a big bank, and you just get the
Yeah,
feeling. And I was watching back that 1990 game with St. Gall's for the St. Gall's article I was working on last week, and that game was in Kingscourt. Like, would the stand have been there? Because you couldn't see it in the video footage. Maybe that came after, did it?
the stand probably came just after that.
Yeah.
There was a big bank there and all that. And them Ulster club games, the fact our ground was called the county ground, and we got our home games in Kingscourt, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a lot of tough battles in them games. The Gauls were a good team. There was Scottstown, Blaney, there was loads of teams, whole island. We had some great days in Kingscourt with them.
And here, from your own point of view, growing up, like obviously your own young fella's playing now this weekend, and he played on the team that won in 15, and there's a tradition there. But like growing up, was your family heavily involved in football? Was football something you were at from very young? You know,
Yeah,
what sort of, I suppose, what kindled your love for it?
we lived in the football pitch. Like I live in the main street here in Kingscourt, but we every time we were gone out, if we weren't working at home or doing stuff at home, we were gone to the pitch, and that's where you'd find us all the time. We'd be down kicking ball. There wasn't a lot to do. There was no such thing as mobile phones or internet or PlayStations or anything like that. You were put out the door and you come back when you were hungry, and yet you'd have a ball in your hands all the time. We'd be kicking soccer on the street. There'd be big wide street in Kingscourt at the time, and so we'd be playing ball up and down at all the youngsters. So we were quite a close knit group anyway. So we were always playing ball, and just because there wasn't tradition didn't mean you couldn't win something. But we came together and we kind of set a tone maybe for future teams coming through.
The 1980 team, you spoke, Pat, about the under-21 group that obviously fed into it all. The 1980 team, that was the first, wasn't it? 1980.
That was the breakthrough, yeah.
What would the average age have been of that team around that time, approximately? Like, paint the picture. Was it the core of the 20s?
It would be early, probably 22, 23 would be the average age. We had a few older guys that were playing on. Pat Tindley would have played with Cavan. He captained Cavan when Cavan won Ulster in 67 and 69. He was on them teams. So we kind of were looking up to the likes of him. And he was a very grounded man, and he'd always encourage you. And you'd play for the likes of him. There was Johnny Tierney was over the team, and he was a player as well. He was a player manager at the time. Johnny Sherlock, Martin Wakely. They were probably the four old guys, and then the rest of us were all from early 20s. I was in 80. I was 17, 18 at the time. But that up to about 23, 24 years of age.
Would you have been big underdogs going into that season? Because you obviously finished the cup, but before a ball was kicked, where would you have been in the pecking order?
Oh, no one would have given us a hope. No one would have talked about us at all. Like Crushallock, we played in the final that year, and they would have a good reputation of tradition. Crushallock teams, they done the 7 in a row. At one stage in championship. So they had a good tradition, and we were completely unheard of, or we would just come out of no place really. And after that, it kind of the tradition kind of set in a wee bit. Then after that,
and if you can remember back, when during that year did you feel you had a team could win it? Was it the final whistle in the final, or was there somewhere during the year you thought, you know what, we can do this?
Before the final, like, we'd have been confident enough of winning that, even though we were big underdogs. But you know the way a bit of when you've youth and exuberance and that, you just go out and express yourself, and you don't. Tactics wouldn't be a huge thing then compared to nowadays, and you just went out and played. And I know it was a low scoring game, but it was quite a good game. But you were never under pressure to do anything. Like, you went out and you played to the best of your ability, and that was it. And there was no one going to eat ahead of you in the dressing room if you didn't. You know, it was quite relaxed at the time. Johnny Tierney managed the team, and while he was strict, he was easy going, and that helped a lot.
And what was the feeling like to win it? Because, like, you hadn't won it since 1921. You were in a final in 55, and here you are, a group of young bucks, and you've got the biggest prize in Cavan football. It must have been amazing.
Well, funny enough, at the time, it shows you how the club was being run at the time. We got blazers, and we all landed to Brefton Park, these Grace slacks and Kingscourt blazers. So we thought we were the bee's knees. They were all sponsored. And
the big star did you see the big star on the blazer?
No, it was just the crest of the blazer,
yeah.
Kingscourt crest. And sure, here we were landing in white shirts and blazers and grey pants. And sure, I'd say people maybe were laughing at it, but it's happened for 2 years anyway. That I don't know what it was, but someone came up with the idea, and there's a picture of us all in the blazers anyway, heading off on the bus to the game. So things like that, kind of lads got closer together because of things like that. So it was good. There was great atmosphere when we won it. The town, the local Brasserie band welcomed them back to the town, and there was a lorry and speeches and all that. It was great. Then there had to be a bit of drinking to be done then.
Did you had a busy week then, I would imagine?
With good celebrations, yeah. But then you done this. You went to the schools and you brought the cup around to there's 3 national schools in the parish. So you brought the cup to the schools, filled them with sweets, and no homework for the kids for the day, for the night, and all that sort of stuff. And that was great, going around the schools with the cup like that. It was four national schools actually, but it was a great buzz. And then the kids got to know who you were and who's this and who's that when you were up at the schools and all that stuff. So they all wanted to play football after that. It kind of set a benchmark then after that.
That's what I was going to ask you, Pat. Was there just a real increase in numbers, an increase in interest at juvenile level? Because I suppose, like every club, the senior team's the flagship of the club. That's what people look up to. Is that what you found, that the rest, like maybe the 14, 15, 16-year-olds, they ended up playing in the senior team a few years later because they were looking on?
Yeah, definitely it helped, and it gave them something to aim at and to see what happens when you win something, how families, whether it's grandparents, parents, uncles, aunts, they all would be involved in the community anyway. But they were all, how would I say, everyone's relations and everything were going to the matches, whether it's Ulster club matches, a lot more started going to our league games and all that sort of thing. So, and then a few of us were making breakthroughs into the county panels and stuff like that. So it was kind of set a bar then for the next generation coming
then. And like the next year, I think you said a replay. Drummondley, I think, to win the title. So I think he's had a few replays down the line as well in finals. So he's had success, but on a few occasions he's probably had a fight really hard for it.
Yeah, it was never any easy final. Probably Ballina was our easiest final, but every final we played in, whether it was Mullahoran, Crushalat, Drumalee, Gowna, who has Rammer, they were all quite good teams. Like there was no final easy one now. We won the replay comfortable enough, but we we were lucky enough in the drawing game that day with Drumalee. So yeah, there was no easy finals.
And was it Rammer beat you in '85 because it was sort of in the middle of it? Lara United
Yeah,
had won 3 in a row, and then you got to a final. Was that Lara won 3 in a row and then you lost the final? Was that the way it fell?
yeah, yeah. Lara won 82, 83, 84, and then we lost the Rammer in 85, and then 86.
Ballinya.
Ballina, that was probably the easiest final. But other than that, then you had who had we Crushalat then Mullahoran. But Rama were a very good team that time, and they used to test us more often than anyone. They won 2 championships in that space, but they probably were unfortunate to meet Kingscourt at their peak. They would test you, Mullahoran would test you, Crushalat would test you, and then later Cavan Gales, Gowna, all them were coming along then. But no, you were fairly tested now, and Lara had a good team too.
And here, whenever you are playing, like that's 8 finals in 12 years, so that's regular, as the saying goes, at the cutting end of the championship. What do you put down to, the fact is we're there for so long? What do you put that down to? Was it the same group of players, or did you feel you were getting better every year, or was it the same core? Or because consistency is a big thing, like it really is.
Yeah, you had the same core of players, and at that stage there was 5 of us in at the county panel. Jim Riley was at the peak of his powers. He was a brilliant footballer. You had Joe Dillon, you had Barry McArdle, and you had a brother of mine, Michael, and myself. So, and then there was 1 or 2 others dipping in and out of county panels. Joe McCall,
McCormick was goalkeeper for Cavan for a while, I think.
Brendan McCormick, Glenn McCormick, they came later. Then Francie McKenna was goals for Cavan for a few times too. He was a very good keeper, and you had lads dipping in and county underage, county under 21 minor. So you had a nucleus of players coming through the whole time, and then you had a base that was in on the county panels for a good few years, which helped.
And was it the same management over that spell, Pat? Was it?
No, then Johnny Tierney was there in 80 and 81, and then Robbie Connell and a Roscommon man, he played for Roscommon, called Eamon Curley, came aboard. He was living in Baylor at the time, and he came aboard then in the mid 80s, and it was probably just the wee lift that we needed after losing, winning nothing from 81 to 86. Then 5 years went past very quick, and we'd nothing. Naaman came in then, and there was another guy called Paddy Clark. He came in, he was from Loud, he came in as well, and done a few training sessions of that, and it brought the thing up to another wee level. So we did get to 2 Ulster finals at that, club finals, which was great run getting them games.
You see the 5 years that you didn't win the title, how close were you?
How close? See, in Cavan, it was a knockout. It wasn't run on a league basis, and we were, like Lara beat us, an amalgamation team, Sillen Gales, which was Sherford and McBride, beat us another year. Rama beat us. Yeah, we were getting caught. We probably got a bit complacent, I'd say, at that stage till we regrouped and a few newer players came through the scene then. A few of the older, the likes of Pat Tindley had retired, and he was a big influence on the whole lot of us. And we probably were a wee bit complacent or whatever and got caught in games because it was knockout. you only had the one chance.
Aye, and one bad day. And then is it the story too, Pat, where yous are the big team, so everybody plays maybe twice as hard when they're playing Kingscourt because they know they're playing the team who were, I suppose, the kingpins at that time. Is that a factor or not?
Would be, yeah. Our teams, when you were champions and you came out in Oakland to be champions, there was always someone ready to knock you off your perch now, so there was. But yeah, it was just went into a lull, and we knew we should have been doing better, but we weren't. So there was no putting the finger on it exactly, but we just weren't playing well enough to win them, and other teams were up in their ante against us anyway. So that was what was happening.
And then, as you say, you beat Ballinya in '86, you beat Rammer in '87, and at that stage, Byrne had won an All Ireland in '86, and then went on to win it in '88 after, I think it was '87 Ulster final they beat you in. And you were saying last week when we had a brief chat that was one that got away. It was something like 8-6, so it was very, very close. So, and like Byrne,
Yeah,
like Byrne were All Ireland champions, so they were at the top of the tree, like at that stage.
that was the one we always regret. It was played in Ballabay and it spilled rain the whole day. It was a rotten day, wind and rain. And I know it was low scoring, but the conditions were horrendous. And like Burren had Shorty Trainer, the McGoverns, Paddy O'Rourke, McCardle,
the Murdochs.
Like they were all playing inter-county football with Down. And like it was definitely one that we had a chance of winning, but we blew it, as they say. But and Burren went on and won All Ireland that year. Not saying we'd have went on and won All Ireland, but it was definitely one where Lavy beat us then comprehensively in the final then
90.
Later on, 1990. But that was a good Lavely team. So you were playing teams, and every team that won the county championship, bar one or two of them, they all were littered with county players. Like whether it was a Tyrone,
that Lavy team is the same.
Yeah, they had the Downeys and McGurks and McCormicks, and like they were all good playing inter-county with Derry. Like even going back to our first year when we went up in the first round of the Ulster Club Championship, we played Clonagale of Armagh, and sure we didn't know what to expect playing in it, and we went up, and that time the Troubles was in full flow, and you were going through checkpoints and all that sort of stuff. It was a bit different, and like Jim McCare and Colin McKinstry, Jimmy Smith, they were all playing for Clonagale. They were after playing in Ireland in '77 with Armagh. And you didn't really think you were going to do well, but you went up and you beat them. We beat them 2 years in a row, actually, Clonagale. So that would have give us a right lift at the time that you could go up the north and beat good club teams and that, So, every team, like even Ballinderry had McIver and McCusker midfield, two big men, over 6'3" or 4" or whatever. Dungiven had Brian McGilligan and Joe Brawley, all inter-county players. So you were up against top players in these games.
And here, then, after all of that, you won 3 in a row, 80, 89, 90, and 91. So that was another golden era in the fact that you had to defend your title. And as you say, Pat, when you're the champions, people are coming knocking your door. So to go 3 years in a row, and correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't do 3 in a row. The other ones were like 2s, 80, 81, 86, 87. So 3 in a row was a big accomplishment.
That was a big accomplishment at the time, and a few young players came through this underage system, say the McCormicks and Tommy McCall, the McCalls, and then they came from underage, Joe McCarthy, them sort of players. But they give us a wee injection that we needed. We were getting, say, more mature at that stage. So it was 10 years later, 91, from 80 to 90, 10 years. So they came on the scene then and give the thing a bit of a lift. So they did. So yeah, they were good championships to win. And then we won. We probably snuck one at the end. We won one in '93 against Gaelic, and we were kind of in our 30s at that stage. We were getting on a bit, as to say, but we probably snuck that one, which maybe we shouldn't. But the team was getting a bit old then, and a few lads were emigrating too at times. Things like that was happening. But then we had a big long barren spell after that, from 93 to 2010, 17 years then, before we won it. 2010.
Yeah, I beat the Gaels in 2010, I think. And he's lost the ground of the year. Sorry, no, I got that mixed up. Actually, he's lost the ground in '89.
Yeah. No, 2010 we beat. Did we beat? Was it the Gaels?
Possibly.
Or Castlerahan was 2015.
Yeah.
It was the Gaels. It was the Gaels. Sorry, yes, it was the Gaels in 2010. Yeah, Dudley Farrell was over us then.
You see that era of, the 12 years where you were at the top, like, was it, looking back on it now, was it just one big whirlwind, or did it sort of, is there something that stuck out above the rest where it was the one that you always remember? Because, is there any of the finals that are more memorable than the others, or is it all the same? It's all a medal. It's all a title.
The first one is always the most memorable, but because we were young, young guys at the time. But then the three in a row one, the last 91, that was a big thing to get three in a row. Now that was big for the club now, but it was no hard fact about it. You just got down, you were training, and no one would miss matches. To be very few, you'd never had many injuries or anything like that. Maybe one or two, but nothing major. There was Brendan McCormick, the goalie, probably missed the county final. He broke an ankle at training. And Morris Roundtree, who was a cornerback, a very good player, he missed the final too from injury. But other than that, we always had a complement of players to pick from. We were very rarely down players. But no, there's no hard facts. You just put your head down and start a new year, and your aim was to win the county title.
Simple as that, black and white.
Pat,
you talked about the fact that growing up, like you lived in the football field, and then that obviously transpired into success. But even like off the field in Kingscourt, is it just a fanatical area? Because with that amount of success, is it fair to say that is football the number one topic of conversation at that stage, or what's it like? Or can you get away from football at all? Is there any chance of getting a break? Or is it just a football dominated era?
Well, you see, you're on the border here. We're stuck, right? Mead, go out one road out of Kingscourt and you're in Mead, and go out another road out of Kingscourt and you're in Monaghan. So we're stuck right in the corner there. So there was never rivalries then, because they were playing in the other counties. Baylor was the nearest club, say, and that, Sherkirk. But we never had big rivalries with them. But yeah, football was probably the main thing, but soccer was big in Kingscourt at the time too, and still is fairly big. And a lot of lads in the winter time played a bit of soccer to keep fit, and then go back once the club season had started, to go back to the club. But there probably wasn't many outlets. Handball was a big thing. We used to play a good bit of handball too as youngsters. And there was a big open handball alley, and we'd play there as well. But it was just that we all kind of knew each other. We grew up with each other and went to school together with each other and all that kind of thing. So we were kind of all friendly with each other.
And then, obviously, now this weekend, you're hoping to get 3 in a row, and maybe head towards the top end of the table. Anyway, in Cavan, isn't it first versus 8th in the quarterfinals and all that? So that's then. But
Yeah.
like your own young fella's playing, what was that like watching him? And was it 2015? Was that Castlerahan he played? So there's another generation coming. So is it easy to be a spectator?
Well, funny enough, so even since I finished, I'd have been involved in the club anyway, as in I'd done chairman for 4 years and I'd done a selector for a few years and all that sort of stuff. So I was going to games anyway. And is it easier to watch? Well, when you have a son playing, I suppose it's a bit, you'd be a bit apprehensive, but you just let them go on and play. But no, I enjoy watching the lads coming up nowadays and all that. I enjoy all that. But no, I'd never get nervous before games watching my son play or anything like that. That wouldn't bother me at all. He just goes out and does his own thing. And I'd be critical of him. That'd be the only thing. I'd be his biggest critic. As a father.
Fan, his biggest critic at the same time.
Yeah. As he'd say when he come home, if they won by 10 points, I'd always point out the mistake he made.
What sort of health is the club in now? Because like that was an unbelievable era you went through. So like as I said earlier on, I was in Kingscourt. I can see what you have facility wise. So you're obviously not going away anytime soon. So how are things?
No, things are quite healthy at the minute now. There's a lot of good underage teams coming through. They mightn't be winning, but they're competing at the highest level. And there's an awful lot of youngsters playing football now. There's like our under 12s have 3 teams at the minute, or under 14s have two different teams. So number wise and ability wise, I expect Kingscourt to be thereabouts for the next 10 years comfortable. They should. There's a lot of good players coming through, and the club is quite healthy. There's girls football, and it's very big at the minute in the town. And like every evening, you go down to the football pitch, it's full. So it's in a good, healthy state now.
You often hear people saying that, Pat, that if the pitches are full, it's always a good sign. If you see empty pitches, you're concerned because, like you said earlier in the conversation, whenever you were beginning to be successful, the committee was at the core of it all, and then now I suppose it's the same. You can't build a house without a foundation, I suppose.
100%, yeah. No, we've a very good chairman there, Kevin Shields. He'd be actually a Tyrone man, so he is living in the area.
How's he accepted? How's the Tyrone man accepted down in Kingscourt? Happy enough?
Once you can play football, we'll accept anyone.
Very good.
But him and his wife, to be very good for outsiders, to do Trojan work with the club there, and Kingscourt it's a vibrant enough town. There's an awful lot of employment about it, and there's a lot of new people after coming into the area, commuting even to Dublin and that, buying houses here, and you're probably an hour from Dublin without traffic. So there's an awful. The town is growing population wise, and you've a lot of people now that have no connection with the town. Youngsters playing football now, coming through that way. We'd be lucky that way that we got a lot of new people into the town and playing football and all that. So yeah, we're great employers around Kingscourt. So there's a lot of good companies.
And finally, I suppose you must look back on your own playing career with immense pride. Like I'm guessing the fact that you'll never forget the day that you didn't beat Byrne. Those ones always eat away. But beside that, 7 titles in 12 years is an immense level of success. You must be happy with your lot, even though
Yeah,
you've finished off the Ulster story.
of course you'd be happy. Yeah, you'd be more than happy, like, for what you've done over the years. Surely there's five of us. Five of us have, I think, 8 medals altogether. 8 championship medals.
That's right. 93 come outside of that 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah. There's five of us of that group won 8 medals. So yeah, you'd be proud of that, or at that achievement.
Who's that, Pat? Who's the five?
Myself and my brother Michael, Barry McCardle, he's a brother-in-law of mine. Jim Riley, who would have played for Cavan and Ulster, and Joe Dillon, who played with Cavan midfield with Cavan for years too. So, like, that five, it's always something that it's not going to be taken away from you anyway. So, yeah, it's a good achievement.
It's some achievement whenever you think that you're a group of under 21s going in, and you say, what was it? You said you're 17 or 18 when you won it the first time. So it was a real golden generation, and I suppose you maximised everything. You had the spell when Lara had 3 in a row where you weren't at the top, but it's a brilliant level of success.
It is, and no matter what people say, whether the standard is not high or is high or isn't high, but to win the senior championship, they don't come easy, no matter what grade it's in. You have to put a bit of work into it, and it won't just happen.
Definitely won't. Pat, thanks a million for your time. It's great to hear the memories, and we'll be writing about it this week in Gaelic Life, and no doubt this weekend you'll have your fingers crossed that Kingscourt can get another win, and who knows, you could end up back in county final this year. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure you love that. I'm sure you love that right now. To be back in the county final.
I'd love it, and not alone in it, win it.
How open is the championship this year, do you feel? I know there's only been 2 games played so far, but what's the general feeling?
Well, Crushela, Gowna and Ramor seem to be the 3 strong teams. Mm-hmm. And I'd put us in the chasing pack, but I think we're a wee bit better. We're better this year than we were last year. We're better. Colin Kelly from Louth is over us, and he has them coming. They could be just turning the corner at the right time. Could be a wee bit dark horses.
There you go. Maybe later in the championship season, who knows? You could have the flags up and chests out and heading for a final. Who knows? Fingers crossed, says you.
Well, we have Jordan Morris now from Meath. He transferred to us there a couple of years ago, and he's injury free at the minute. So he's a good addition to us. But we just now, we're quietly confident.
We'll leave it at that. Quietly confident. 11 titles and maybe 12 sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
Pat, thanks a million for your time. And folks, you can join us back on Monday, where we will hear if Kingscourt have won 3 from 3 and how all the other club championships have went over Ulster as it heads towards the business end. So thanks for listening, and a massive thank you to Pat for jumping on and telling us about all things Kingscourt during their golden era.
Experience hospitality the Northwest way at the Everglades Hotel. Located on the banks of the River Foyle, the Everglades Hotel is just minutes from the centre of London Derry, with free on-site guest car parking. Whether you're here for a family meal, a big celebration, or simply a peaceful retreat, we'll make your experience as memorable as the sights in the city. Visit Everglades Hotel Derry for accommodation bookings, the latest menus, live shows and events, and much, much more. See you there.